You know, growing up, I was a huge Yu-Gi-Oh fan, and lately I've been watching a lot of Master Duel videos, like Team Samurai X, Dada Doya, Rhyme Style, C-Reacts, 3 Idiots, a lot of their content, and I've been really getting into it. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go watch the original anime, and I did, and I was like, holy smokes, alright? There's a lot of really cool fits here, and I really just want to talk about it. Recently though, earlier this year, the creator Kazuki Takahashi unfortunately passed away. And I was thinking about scrapping this video because I didn't want to really talk about outfits like that and make kind of fun of them in a way, in so close to his passing. However, I really just want to talk about how much of a genius he is, and I think there's not really a lot of making fun of. Honestly, I just want to bring light to how great of a character designer is and how innovative he was in character design, especially in that era. And so yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do, because Yu-Gi-Oh is so cool. It is a melting of styles when it comes to fashion. If you want to dress like a classic, like clean cut man, then you go to Tristan. He's got like the, you know, the trench coat, khaki with the dress shirt and the dress pants and the Chelsea boots. Like, he is the standard clean cut classic man. If you want to do like more skate core, just look at Joey. I mean, if you ever seen a Ludwig stream, looks exactly like him. If you want to be like goth e-boy kind of thing going on, look at like Duke Devlin. He's kind of weird, but weird minor character, but he's got like the earring thing, and yeah, so the dangly earring and stuff. But if you want to look at Techwear, you gotta look at this man Kaiba. This guy is unbelievable when it comes to this type of fit, and one of the most iconic designs in anything. So without further ado, let's drip with Yu-Gi-Oh. So first things first, what is Techwear, right? Techwear is a type of streetwear where you're mixing a lot of futuristic designs and utilitarian designs, right? A lot of pockets, straps, things like that, as well as fabrics, right? We're talking Gore-Tex, stuff that's like really rain resistant, Teflon that's like got like the stuff spacesuits are made out of, things like that. And that kind of style originated back in anime kind of origins as well, with cyberpunk stuff, but also like Ghost in the Shell was a really big innovator for that. And this is all in like the early 90s. And then 94, boom, acronym drops, right? And they're not really huge. Honestly, they build a little bit of a cult following, because if you think about the 90s, a lot of the outfits, it's a lot of grunge, it's a lot of more casual clothes. People are starting to wear a lot of t-shirts, graphic tees specifically, and then you got like a lot of shredded jeans, fucked up shoes, things like that. And that's obviously in America, but even in like on the other side of the world in Japan, it's also like a lot more casual clothes. We're talking like schoolgirl Harajuku style type stuff. You got like, they had a lot of like punk bands too, and so there was a lot of like goth stuff going on, like collars and bracelets that were like leather and things like that. And you know, all of these different styles are not Techwear though. Techwear is obviously like bringing up those futuristic designs and that those bleeding edge gadgets that kind of elevate the fit, as well as again using this utilitarian style and these cool fabrics to kind of make like basically your cyberpunk dreams come true. Oftentimes when you see Techwear now, it's a lot of like ski masks and hoods, and it's gotten huge over the past few years, especially with COVID, because people are like, well, now I gotta wear this stupid mask. Well, how do I make it look cool? And then a lot of people got introduced to Techwear. And as I said, Techwear had a bit of a cult following with acronym up until, honestly, up until recently. But they've been around for quite a while, and other people have been doing it. You've got Nike doing it, Adidas doing some stuff with their different Y3 brands and stuff like that. And so that's kind of the vibe. Wearing a shell, wearing masks, wearing straps, things like that. The general aesthetic is wearing a big overcoat. You always have to wear outerwear. It just is what it is. That's how these go. So you wear a big overcoat, not necessarily big in the sense of like long or like bulky, but there's an outerwear layer that's the emphasis of the piece. and then baggy pants that kind of taper down into your high top sneakers, normally boots, sometimes, no, not normally boots, but normally lightweight things, boots, high top sneakers like blazers, for example, and then often like a bag of some sort. So going back in time, right, we were talking about Ghost in the Shell earlier. It's making waves in the 90s. An acronym, the godfather of techwear, starts. So at the time, like I said, we're still talking about rave culture. Everyone's going out and partying, so everyone's wearing dirty clothes, Vans, again, graphic tees, ripped pants, jeans. Nirvana is like the vibe, right? So because of that, techwear never really took off, and as I said, it had a cult following. But a very avid cult following. For my anime viewers out there, I'm talking like Legend of the Galactic Heroes. We are all the way in. This is the greatest show ever, but no one was going to start talking about it until 10 years from now, and the people that are talking about it, everyone's going to be like, yeah, you know what, it is the best show ever, but literally no one has seen it except for the people who are really into it, right? That's the kind of cult we're talking about. Like, this is, a lot of people don't even wear techwear now, even though they think it's really cool. They might have some accessories, cargo pants with a lot of straps or a lot of pockets, as well as like some sorts of jackets as well, and obviously we all have to wear masks still from time to time, but it doesn't really, you don't go outside in the street and see everyone wearing techwear. It's just not that kind of trend because it is so unique, and it also requires a lot of effort. Honestly, it requires a lot of style. It's a really hard look to pull off because no one wants to wear a jacket in the heat, one. Two, it's just like there's a lot of moving parts, and then three, it's just like it's a lot to wear. You have to really be unique and stand out in that space. So back to anime. Enter Kaiba. The king, the Don. 96 is when Yu-Gi-Oh drops, the manga drops. So things are going as they go, and our king, Mr. Takahashi, he's like, nah, this dual stuff, this dual monster stuff, this stuff, right? It's high tech. We're doing VR. We're doing holograms. We're doing dual disc. We're doing, Blue Eyes PJs, private jets. It doesn't matter. We're going in. I don't care. These dual monsters rule the fucking world. All right. When you're looking at the majority of Yu-Gi-Oh, a lot of what's around at the time is that 90s style, that Harajuku schoolgirl style is like what Teo wears. Yugi is literally 5'2", doesn't have a 4-inch vertical. He wears J's and he wears Choke Me Daddy collar and wristbands, and he's got the whole Gothesec thing. He's got a little chain link, So there's a lot of different styles going on. And so that's what makes Yu-Gi-Oh really, really good, is because it's, Japan in general. The US is more like we go after really cool trends, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we kind of dress like how our celebrities dress, or, put parts of that in there. Japan is more communal as a fashion. It doesn't necessarily mean they're better, but overall, your general Japanese person has a higher level of style than most other countries because of how communal everything is and how everyone just kind of, is in that style. And they always take a deeper look into the style that's popular rather than trying to keep on going for different things. Because of that, a lot of manga artists in general, and Japanese people in general, but manga artists specifically, when they draw what's around them, they end up drawing people and characters that they have to really think about. The outfits aren't really a big deal because it's already really, it's there. Everyone looks good, so just draw them as they are. So you're getting that with Yu-Gi-Oh! And then you get Kaiba. This guy is a trillionaire. He owns the biggest company in duel monsters in the whole Yu-Gi-Oh! World, and he is the leading edge. He's always making new technologies. He's the Steve Jobs of duel monsters. And so Kaiba is in this world with normal people, with this 90s style, normal people wearing street clothes. And this is why his techwear stood out, and why it's so elevated, and why I think it's such a good example of how to do it. Things like Ghost in the Shell inspired the look, right? But the entire world is a cyberpunk dystopia type thing. Same with Blade Runner, for example, as well. But, despite there being duel monsters having this cutting edge technology, the entire world is pretty casual. It's normal. There's nothing really crazy about it. aside from Duel Monsters always elevating. Like, there's holograms in VR, but it doesn't feel like the rest of the world isn't normal. Everyone, the way they dress, the way they act, the way they go to school, the way they go to the game shop, the way they play cards, like at the tables, like it's a pretty normal area. And in the manga, they say it takes place in 96, so they're dressed and they have everything, phones or fucking blocks if they need them. 96. So with all that in mind, we get to the high tech, right? So let's get into the fit. Kaiba is rocking, and I mean rocking, all right? This juicy, clean, white outer coat that goes from here all the way to his ankles. It's got metallic buttons on the side, a little bit on the collar and the shoulder blades. It's got shoulder blades, that's sick. And it's got this purple inner layer. And it is phenomenal. It looks amazing on him. And what's crazy is the outer coat, the way it looks, it almost feels metallic, which kind of gives me like the wave of like the right now the Gore-Tex and stuff, the anti-rain and resistant. He doesn't really have that going on, but because it feels kind of metallic, it does feel outer worldly like Teflon does, which I think is really, really sick. Under that, he's wearing a black turtleneck all the way up, real skin tight though. And then he's got these blue straps, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then these silver gauntlets. We'll get to the gauntlets because they matter. And he's got these gauntlets, and you're like, I mean, he looks really good, but it's like there's no way anyone would wear that, right? And then you got the leather pants all the way down, again with the leather straps. The strap's a staple in the techwear world, although these ones have no use. And then right into his leather boots, which are sleek and lightweight. At least they look like that. And that's another part of like techwear. He's not wearing like chunky boots. He's wearing thin. Everything is slim, except the outer coat is baggy. Everything looks like it's form fit. It's aerodynamic, and that's what makes it look really cool. And then of course he has this big bulky belt with Kaiba Corp on it. He looks good, right? It's undeniable. He has one of the most iconic character designs in all of anime and honestly in all of a lot of media. But what makes it really, really cool is when you start thinking about the bleeding edge gadgets, because you're like, well, how is it techwear? Okay, like, yeah, he looks good, but he's just rich, you know? He's just got all this crazy stuff. But it's like the little details, right? The metallic buttons, like the almost feeling kind of spacey. Feels like he's like, I could see him in a spaceship, like watching, you know, from a satellite, watching the world, you know? And it makes sense. It would work in that outfit. So he looks great, right? But then we get into the actual like bleeding edge technical aspects of it. The gauntlet sounds stupid, but then when you think about it, he builds this dual disc, and when he finally starts wearing this fit, the dual disc goes right on the gauntlet. So this guy, he says, I'm gonna make these amazing dual discs to make the world of Duel Monsters become something it's never been. And you're gonna be able to take it on the go. We're gonna do these holograms and everything. And so he says, but I make way too much money to hurt my wrist, right? So everyone else has got to deal with that, but me, no. I got these gauntlets, gonna go right on there, and it's gonna look good. He elevated his style to fit with Duel Monsters. So Kaiba, like, this guy loves the game of playing cards more than anyone in the world, and so he makes those gauntlets, and they're actually functional and they work, and that's really sick, honestly. And then another thing is he had a little KC detail here, but it also acts like a mic that futuristically in the world of 96 he's able to press it and communicate with anyone in the Kaiba Corp. So that's crazy. Now the straps, I wish that they did something with it, but you know, not really anything with the straps. Maybe his shirt was bulky and he tightened it up, I don't know. But I will say that the straps are a staple in the techwear, so it is really cool that Mr. Takahashi was able to look at a really small space in fashion at the time that was growing but was still fairly small, was able to look at that and say, you know what, I'm going to incorporate some of those things. And you know, maybe he didn't, maybe it was just for cool factor, but I like to think that he did, considering how much thought is put into a lot of these other people's outfits. For example, Yugioh, despite having that 90s core look, in that same arc, he wears 2 belts. And you're like, that's whatever, he wears 2 belts. But again, going back to the utilitarianism, is something that he was always thinking about because his world revolves around duel monsters. Yugi wears his one belt here and his other belt like this, so it would be like on his hip, right? And the second one on his hip has a little container for his cards. So he pulls out his cards from there, his deck. He goes and he slides into the disc. And during that time, he had the flowing overcoat as well. There's a lot of motifs, especially with the like stuff that they're using, that is very much Techwear. And then obviously in 2016, we get an even more elevated look to both of these characters when we do Dark-Sided Dimensions, and Kaiba's got the Google Glass with the entire dual disc running down his arm, and then Yugi gets it too. And it's always, as Yu-Gi-Oh has gone on, it's always been elevating its technical aspects and kind of putting them into like hyperspace. But at the time, when you're looking at this world in the 90s, and there's a lot of futuristic stuff going on and they feel very street, it's really interesting to be like, wow, like, no, these guys were kind of doing the Techwear thing, and it looks really good. I mean, it is iconic. And obviously the character himself is amazing, and that clearly helps.
I'm not gonna make it!
Guess again! Catch!
But his design is undeniably one of the best that we've seen in quite a really long time. On top of that, something that I didn't fail to mention, another common thing with Techwear, because it's so built on utilitarianism, it often comes with bags. People have black bags, strap overs, fannies, whatever. Maybe extra pockets, maybe those pockets turn into bags. Acronym, I mean, if you look at some of these videos of Acronym doing some of their lookbooks, it's just a guy standing in a jacket. Well, not a guy, the guy, but standing in a jacket and flipping out pockets, straps. Now it's a bag. Now it's off. You know, like it's insane. It's insane to look at. It's also really, really cool. Hey, you know, here's a spot for your earphones or AirPods. Boom. Like, it's insane. But what makes it really, really cool, going back to Kaiba, like I said, they always have these bags. Kaiba always has his briefcase. And you're like, well, yeah, he's a briefcase, money, whatever. But it's kind of going back to that idea of like utilitarianism. What does he have in his briefcase? He always has either dual discs for other people or for himself to test or whatever, or he's got his deck in the briefcase. So everything he has on his body, aside from the straps, has some sort of use and is like necessary, or it's some sort of elevation. And that's pretty crazy and really cool for a character design. You know, because a lot of times there's a lot of really great character designs in all of anime and manga, but you know, I think of like Rengoku, for example. He's fire, and the guy was like, wow, this guy is fire. What do I make look like fire? You know, his Hattori, fire. We're gonna literally make it fire. His hilt is gonna have fire, and then his hair is gonna be fire colored. And then what's hot? Mullets. Those are pretty fire. We'll give him a mullet. So, and although it really, really looks cool, it doesn't have like the amount of thought put into it like Kaiba does. I mean, when we're talking about the utilitarianism and like the way he works in the world, that's what he does. And so with his briefcase, always having his deck, not a space in his deck is not covered by cards. And he's got his dual disc sometimes, and he doesn't have his dual. Sometimes he just has his dual disc. It's really cool to watch, honestly. It's one of those things that just like is absolutely incredible. So I just want to end this with, you know, all in all, Kazuki Takahashi is a brilliant, and I mean brilliant, character designer. And I'm so glad that he was able to create such a fun and exciting game and breathe life into, you know, my childhood and a lot of other people's childhoods, even into adulthood. It's been a spectacle to watch the game of Yu-Gi-Oh evolve into what it is, as well as just what it was in the zeitgeist of anime in kind of a golden age era. Genuinely an amazing series and a brilliant designer through and through, and I have nothing but respect for the man, and I'm just really thankful that we were able to get something like that from him. So in my mind, I mean, these are some of the greatest designs I've ever seen, specifically with Kaiba in the techwear space. And I mean, we're talking 4,000 life points out of 4,000 life points. Yes, it is fresh. There is no question about it. I'll see you in the next one. Bang. Thank you so much for watching if you did, and watching all the way through. I know this is kind of like a fun topic to talk about, but I really do love talking about some of these fits because it's such a strong part about character design and how the world is influenced through anime and manga in general, but especially now. Thanks again, and subscribe, like, all that stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.